Oh, capitaine! Du pilote di joue à la pétanque! Chanier!
Tony Tubbs has withdrawn from next weekend's WBA Championship fight with title holder Tim Witherspoon and has been replaced by James Bonecrusher Smith, who in the past has knocked out Britain's Frank Bruno and has fought for the world title against Larry Holmes. The fight is still part of the Unification Series and the winner will meet Mike Tyson on March the 7th. That's the WBA Championship fight between Tim Witherspoon and James Bonecrusher Smith next Saturday morning at 9:30. Next tonight, comedy and music as we join Digance at work.
Programming the video getting you down? Program in comfort with the new transmitter range from Hitachi. This Christmas, recapture the spirit of Old England. Old England, the great British sherry.
Winning means a lot to you, doesn't it?
I always play to win.
Is this the secret of your success?
It's one of his rewards.
It's very special.
It's Quorum. Quorum. For men who always play to win.
Well, music lovers, when you've made as many comebacks as Gary Glitter, isn't it nice to know you can always come back to the great taste of Heinz lentil soup? Not half. Heinz soup. It's the taste people hunger for.
Quick, take Beecham's. Quick, take Beecham's. At the first sign of a cold, take Beecham's powders capsules with decongestant.
Feel better, fast.
Eclipse means 12 dark, smooth, continental chocolates. All the same, but deliciously different. Eclipse from Rowntree. The experience puts everything else in the shade.
A tale of choicest blend. Brooke Bond, choicest blend. Many leaves may grow, but few are chosen.
My darling, and the delightfully dry country manor.
My favourite. Oh, my. I'll get some more dry.
My goodness! Dry country manor.
Mine's sweet.
My lamb.
My foot.
My sweet!
Mine's dry.
Oh, my hearing! My eyesight!
My twin. My husband.
My train!
Country Manor. So light, so subtle, so buy some.
Lizzie, I'll cook crispy chicken, perfect pork, superb soufflés.
And you ruined my diet.
Multi-wave from Thorn.
Question. Do you know the name of the Canadian who invented Canada Dry Ginger Ale?
N.O.
No. J.J. McLaughlin.
Sounds a bit Scottish to me.
That's probably because it blends so beautifully with whiskey.
Canada Dry. It's a question of taste.
Now on LWT, witty stories and songs with Digance at work.
Holidays being the time of the year it is, and I thought, well, when I was a kid, you see, coming from the East End of London, I come from a place I mentioned earlier in the series called Plaistow, which ain't a very, very well-known place. Have you heard of it? Yeah. As I was saying, it's not all that famous. There's me, I come from there, and a couple of other people, but it was a tradition in the old days, if you came from the East End of London, to go to Southend for your holidays. They don't do it so much now, as I'll explain in a little while, but all around the country, wherever you may live, there are always little favourite spots. Like Lancashire people go, for instance, to Scarborough, I suppose, or something, I don't know really. People from Glasgow go to Blackpool, thank God. And when he was digging sandcastles, do you remember there was always an idiot who would build a sandcastle when you were little kids, you know? There's always be an idiot who would build one by the water. You know, he wouldn't do it back. So, and he'd spend hours with little trough, little moat and all this, and a little flag in it with a lion on it. They used to spend hours building these sandcastles, and it was so close to the sea that when the tide came in, it washed it all away. Do you know what he's doing now, that bloke? Building houses for Barretts. Anyway, we'll get on with the show. This is a little story called The World's Longest Pier. I did this on one of the first times I was on telly. Now, when I was a lad in short trousers, I was taken to Southend-on-Sea. There was me mum, me dad, me deceased Auntie Glad, and me brother, me sister, and me. Now, I don't mean Auntie Glad was deceased when we left. Well, that was a general assumption, though we weren't all that sure, because bar the odd snore, the rest of us seemed to malfunction. I said, Auntie, can we bury you up to your head? You know, the way kids do to older relations. The trouble is, Southend's got no sand. Just rocks close to hand and some World War II fortifications. So we hacked at the bunkers with buckets and spades. Pile 'em up to her neck, me dad said. Then, just for a laugh, we put crabs in her scarf and a flag in the top of her head. Well, the tide came up to her handbag and lapped around 3 of her chins. Me mum yelled, "Why don't you leave her alone?" So we did, went and played on the swings. I remember my sister got chatted up once by some bloke in a kiss me quick hat. Well, she kissed him, seduced him, nigh on reduced him to marriage in 7 months flat. Here comes the bride with something inside. The vicar said, "Hello, my dear," and her legs turned to jelly when he noticed her belly and gave her the world's longest pier. Well, the world's longest pier, it's not the same anymore. It caught fire a few years ago, and the trains ain't steam now, they're diesel, and girls don't parade to and fro. Nah, girls don't go to Southend anymore. It's all Nice now and Ambassadeur. And on the French Riviera, they bathe that bit barer in pursuit of the world's longest Pierre. There you go. Thank you. Now, Beaver Believer was swimming one day. His family were talking, but he'd nothing to say. When all of a sudden, he hit on a plan. Decided he'd build an incredible dam. Now, he'd read in the Bible about a great flood. He gathered up branches, some twigs and some mud. If it happens again, then we'll all be prepared. My wife and my family and friends will be spared. So while other beavers laughed and swam, Beaver the Believer just built his dam. The beavers downriver considered him mad. His kids were embarrassed that he was their mum. Dad, they said he should help them to work up their sums, and biting down trees was moving his gum. So 30 strong beavers came down from the town, together joined forces to pull the dam down. Believer just sat by the river and cried, and went to the sea where they say that he died. Then down came the rains as never before. The overcome beavers were washed to the shore. If only they'd never put Beaver's dam down, his family and friends will still be swimming around. So the mayor told the king and the king told the land, go out you young beavers and each build a dam. Build like Believer without a delay. And that's what they're doing right up to this day. This week we had a letter from somebody who'd see it, who sent me a little book of children's stories. And in this book of children's stories was a little story that I thought I'd like to read to you, that he sent to me. that he sent to me. But in actual fact, I'm quite surprised Johnny wrote this yesterday. But anyway, never mind. This is from a book called A Load of Children's Rhymes and Poems. And I've got to tell you this. You know the crew, that, you know, the cameraman and everything. They've played a joke, and people in the audience on my right can see what's happened here. Do you want to have a look? I'll give you a hint. Look, that's a hint of what they've done. Look! It's not funny. Oh, I don't know, though. Right. The old woman who lived in a shoe. Once upon a time, there was an old woman who lived in a shoe. Her name was Cherry Blossom. And to cap it all... it's going to be full of these, you've got to be on the ball. And to cap it all, she'd lots of children. During the war, her husband Jack flew Wellingtons in the desert. We'll keep count, shall we? That's 3 so far. Up to now... he'd worked at the seashore as a winkle picker. Walk in the sand all day. No, not sand, no. Work in the sand all day. They were bally poor, but still ate okay. Still ate okay. Bloody hell. The poor souls were on their uppers. One day, Dr. Martin called. With a Chas and Dave record under his arm. It was patently obvious. Something was wrong. Jack had clogged up and died from eating too many pickled bunions. The old woman swayed. No more to hear his gentle brogue. No more the flip-flopping through the door. She bought a hush puppy called Dubbin. To keep her company, she visited the tough town clerk. And she told him, I'm a widow with many children. Please help me find a dwelling. But the town clerk had a cold. A shoe, he spat. Well, you know what's coming next, don't you? She said, well, if that's all you've got, it'll have to do. So a shoe it was. Silly cow. Anyway, one day there was a tap on the door. Tap on the door. In stepped Dr. Martin, an upstanding old Meltonian. He was Polish. No, he wasn't, he was Polish. And she took a shine to him as he stood in the hall. He knew Cherry Blossom, used false teeth, and loved presents, so he decided to slip her one under the table. Good, that one, isn't it? It's worth it for that, isn't it, really? To sneak her one into the wardrobe. Love was afoot. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children. Now there's another one due. Boom, boom. Thank you. See you in a minute.
There's another side to Jane Seymour.
Le Jardin d'Amour, when the mood demands a special fragrance.
Le Jardin d'Amour by Max Factor.
Someone is missing you today. Someone who seems so far away.
Haven't heard since I left.
Someone needs to talk a while. Someone needs to share a smile. That someone is just a call away.
Someone in Australia needs to hear from you. So go on, give them a call.
Hello, Ian?
Hello, Mum.
Someone is missing you today.
Are you behaving yourself?
And I thought I'd better find the camera anyway. Camera from the original plot.
In London today, police were called...
LBC, your radio reporting.
Okay, welcome back. Nice cup of tea. Right, now, over the weeks, you've probably been sitting there saying, well, I've never heard of this bloke before, but he's a brilliant guitarist. So what I thought I'd do, as we're coming near the end of the series now, just a couple to go, I thought I'd give you some little tips on playing the guitar. Now, this is an acoustic guitar, and it's used essentially by, well, folk singers, which is where I started in the folk clubs and all that. There's classical guitarists, or there's country and western musicians. They're the sort of people that use these acoustic guitars, right? So I'll give you little examples of all the three styles, and then you can decide which one you like, and you can go away, learn, and then when you get really famous and all that, I can come on This Is Your Life as the bloke that started you off. So it's nice of me, isn't it? Now, we'll start with the folky style, right? Now, you've probably seen folk singers on the telly. They play, like I'm going to do now, with a thumb and the two fingers, especially when they're at home. No, I didn't say that. They play with a thumb and the two fingers, right? And it's called finger picking, obviously, and it sounds really clever and all that sort of stuff, but it's not actually all that hard. So we'll start with that one. Probably the biggest hit on the sort of the folk scene of the last few years was Ralph McTell had a big hit a few years ago with Streets of London. Do you remember that one? Remember that? Nice, wasn't it? And everyone said, oh, that's lovely, because he was doing the old finger-picking things. And I'll tell you who else uses the thumb and the fingers, is classical guitarists when they do bits. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever been to a classical guitar recital, but they're not like this. I mean, it's not a madhouse. I mean, it's very quiet and sedate, and they don't have sing-songs or nothing like that. In fact, they don't sing, do they? They just sit there, bored out their brains. They've got one leg shorter than the other one, so they have to have two stalls. Have you noticed that? One for their bum and one for their little leg. And classical guitarists, always old. haven't they? I mean, and sometimes you go to a classical guitar concert and they won't let you out till the actor's died. Would have let you out here about 3 minutes ago, but still, never mind. Now, the two premier classical guitarists in Britain today are John Williams and Julian Stickleback. Now, these two have got the market more or less sewn up, but I'll tell you a little bit about the composers. One of the greatest composers of old was John Sebastian Bach. But when he was in the Loving Spoonful, before he started writing just tunes, you know, but he used to write songs like What a Day for a Daydream, Summer in the City and all that. They was all written by John Sebastian. And all his mates, when he was round his mates, smoking, drinking coffee and all that sort of stuff, his mates would say, songs are great, John, but the words, oh, they're horrible. Just write tunes. So he used his full name of John Sebastian Bach and started writing tunes, right? And it is acknowledged amongst punters that the hardest thing to play on the guitar is classical stuff, but it ain't. It's actually very, very easy. I can play with my eyes shut, well, one eye shut. I can't practice it on both, but either eye, I can play Bach's Beret, which is the hardest classical piece there is. I can play it on the guitar. Now, if we're going to fit all these tunes in tonight on the show, we're going to have to miss one out, right? So you take my word for it, right, that I can play that one, all right? And then we'll move on to really hard stuff, country and western. All right, so is that agreed? Do you all accept the fact that I can play Bach's Beret? No. You bastards. All right, then, we'll see then. I hope you're going to say sorry. Bright eyes, burning like fire. Tie a yellow ribbon. Say sorry at the end of this. Right, now, we now come to the hardest bit of all, which is strumming. Now, strumming the guitar is an underestimated technique because the spinners do it. But it is actually quite an hard thing to do, to strum properly. And I don't often strum because I don't often feel that confident, but tonight I'm going to have a little bit of a bash, right? Now, strumming, I'll tell you why it's hard. When you pick the guitar, like I picked this one, Woolworths, very nice little job. When you pick the guitar, you use the thumb and the fingers and all that. I know it sounds great. But it don't really matter if you miss the odd string or two, really, because no one really notices. But strumming, you've got one chance to hit the bleeding lot of them. And if you miss, you've had it, because nothing comes out. Now, I'm going to be honest now, I've ruined great songs by strumming when I weren't